So in today's digital world, it feels like cyber threats are evolving faster than we can even track them, right? And regulations, they just keep getting more complex. How do you, as an IT professional, maybe a leader, stay not just on top of it all, but actually ahead, especially when you're handling really sensitive financial data? It's a huge challenge. Today, we're going to do a deep dive into exactly that. We're looking at the New York Department of Financial Services, the NYDFS regulations, specifically around privilege access management, or PM, and multi-factor authentication, MFA. Our mission really is to cut through all that complexity. We want to pull out the most important bits, the practical insights from the material we've got here. The goal is for you to walk away understanding not just what the regulations say, but, fundamentally why they matter, and maybe most importantly, how IT pros can actually achieve and, crucially, maintain compliance.
Yeah, and this regulation, it's really a direct response to the kind of escalating cyber threats that financial institutions in New York are facing. It mandates pretty robust PAM and MFA controls. And if you sort of connect this to the bigger picture, it's not just about like ticking compliance boxes. It's truly about safeguarding sensitive customer data, protecting the organization's reputation, which is huge, and maintaining that essential customer trust.
Okay, let's unpack that a little. You mentioned reputation, trust. Why is staying on top of regulations like NYDFS so incredibly important for IT folks in finance? What happens if a company, if they don't comply?
Well, the stakes are incredibly high. This
Yeah.
isn't just, a suggestion or good practice. Noncompliance carries really severe tangible consequences. We're talking significant fines, potentially running into the millions, depending on the violation.
Millions, wow.
Absolutely. And huge reputational damage. That can erode customer trust for years, maybe permanently. Think about it. A major data breach can just wipe out decades of goodwill almost overnight.
Yeah.
And another thing people often forget is that compliance isn't a one-shot deal. It's an ongoing thing. It demands constant vigilance, regular audits. You're never really done with it.
Right. So it's way more than just dodging a penalty. It's fundamental.
Yeah.
It's about building and keeping that security and confidence, especially when, vulnerabilities are everywhere. It really highlights the why behind all the effort. Okay, let's get to the heart of this regulation then, PM and MFA. For anyone listening who might be a bit new to these terms, what exactly are they and why are they seen as such foundational pillars for cybersecurity right now?
Sure. So privilege access management, PM, think of it as managing and securing your master keys to the kingdom. These are accounts with elevated permissions, like system admin accounts, accounts that can change critical systems. If these aren't managed properly, the risk is enormous. They're prime targets for attackers because, well, if an attacker gets hold of a privileged account, they can pretty much go anywhere, do anything, compromise your whole security setup.
Okay, the master keys. Got it. And MFA.
Right, multi-factor authentication, MFA. Think of that like adding extra locks to your front door. Traditional logins often just use one thing like a password. MFA demands multiple different forms of ID. So it might combine something, like that password with something you have, like an app on your phone or a physical token, and maybe something you are, like a fingerprint scan, biometrics. It just establishes a much higher level of certainty that you are who you say you are. It makes it way harder for attackers because even if they steal your password, they still need that second or third factor.
That makes a lot of sense. Both sound absolutely critical. But how do these two concepts, these foundations, how do they specifically fit into the NYDFS regulation? What does it actually require?
Okay, so the NYDFS regulation specifically mandates that all covered financial entities, banks, insurance companies, etc., establish a really robust PAM program. This isn't optional. It requires specific controls, regular reviews, and, this is key, comprehensive audit trails for everything. It also lays out rules for secure password practices, think complexity, regular rotation, that sort of thing.
Right.
And when we break down the PAM requirements under NYDFS, there are really 6 key areas they emphasize. First off, risk assessment and analysis. You absolutely have to identify all your privileged accounts, figure out their access levels, and assess the risks tied to them. Just knowing where they all are is often the first big step, honestly. Second, access controls and monitoring. This means strong controls to restrict access just to authorized people, plus continuous monitoring to spot any weird behavior. Third, and this is critical, multi-factor authentication, MFA. It's now mandatory for all privileged accounts, not just some, all of them. It really underpins the whole security model.
All privileged accounts, wow.
Yep. Fourth, privileged user tracking and reporting. You need super detailed records of everything privileged users do, logins, changes made, everything. And then you have to regularly review and audit those logs. Fifth, security awareness training. And this isn't just generic stuff. It's specific, comprehensive training for everyone with privileged access about protecting data and spotting threats. And finally, sixth, incident response and recovery. You need a clear, well-practiced plan for handling security incidents, especially any involving privileged access.
Okay, that is a comprehensive list. So
Yeah.
what does this actually mean for the IT pros on the ground, the ones who have to implement all this? What should they be looking for in a PAM solution to meet these, very specific requirements?
That's a great question. When you're evaluating PAM solutions, you need to be really practical. First, does it genuinely align with the NYDFS rules? Does it have those strong controls, the granular permissions, the monitoring we talked about?
Right.
Second, you got to think about scalability and flexibility. Your organization isn't static.
Right.
It grows, it changes. Your PAM solution needs to adapt with it. Third, effective auditing and assessment features. These are non-negotiables. Can it give you the detailed logs, the reports, maybe even automated assessments that you'll need for your auditors?
Makes sense.
And lastly, don't ignore the user experience and how easy it is to implement. A system that's a nightmare to use just won't get adopted properly no matter how secure it claims to be.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
And for actually designing and deploying it, the absolute first step is a thorough audit of what you already have. You can't secure what you don't know about. Then pick a PAM solution that offers things like privileged account discovery, finding those hidden accounts, plus solid credential management, precise access control, and session monitoring. For integration, you need a really good map of your current IT environment. Identify the vulnerabilities, figure out which systems and apps need PAM integration most urgently. This helps set up clear access policies, define roles, and importantly, schedule regular access reviews to prune permissions that are no longer needed.
That's a lot to cover for PAM. Now let's switch gears a bit to MFA. How does NYDFS specifically define the requirements for multi-factor authentication? You mentioned it's mandatory for all privileged accounts, but does it go beyond that?
Well, absolutely. Beyond just privileged accounts, NYDFS pretty broadly requires financial institutions to implement MFA for employees who are accessing internal systems or sensitive data. Think about things like remote access, logging into the company network via VPN, for instance, or accessing critical internal systems that hold customer information. The goal is clear. Really strengthen security around customer info, prevent breaches, and cut down the risks from unauthorized access pretty much everywhere.
Okay, so it's broader than just the admins.
Definitely. And for an MFA solution to cut it under NYDFS, it needs to be versatile. It has to support multiple authentication factors. It's something you know, something you have, something you are, combination. It should offer different options too, like passwords plus smart cards or biometrics or maybe one-time codes via an app, because different situations might need different approaches, right? And critically, while security is number one, you have to think about the user experience. If it's too clunky, people will try to bypass it, which defeats the purpose. So seamless enrollment and authentication are key for adoption. And of course, it needs to integrate well with your existing systems, and you need ongoing monitoring and assessment to make sure it's still effective.
That brings up a key point. Just having MFA isn't enough, right?
Yep.
What about actually enforcing strong methods, and how does the idea of risk fit in? Can you adjust the security level based on the situation?
It's exactly. Enforcing strong authentication methods is basically your main gatekeeper. It means using those multiple factors effectively, making sure access isn't granted too easily. Compliance with NYDFS really demands robust authentication, and that means widespread MFA plus strong password rules. But here's where it gets smarter. Risk-based authentication. This is a strategy to boost security without driving users crazy with constant challenges.
Right.
By looking at things like, is the user logging in from their usual location? Are they using a known device? What kind of data are they trying to access? The system can dynamically adjust the authentication needed.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah, so like if someone tries to log in from halfway across the world at 3 a.m., the system might say, hold on, and ask for an extra MFA step. But if it's a routine login from the office, maybe just a standard MFA is fine. It makes security more intelligent, more context-aware, not just a blunt instrument.
Okay, so once an organization has put in all this effort, implemented PAM, rolled out MFA, how do they actually know they're compliant? What's the role of audits and these ongoing assessments you mentioned?
Right. Audits and assessments are your crucial reality checks. NYDFS requires audits, often by approved third-party auditors. These folks will meticulously go through your PAM and MFA systems, your policies, your procedures. It's not just a quick look. It's a deep dive to see if everything is effective, resilient, and actually compliant with the regulation.
Yeah.
It's how you demonstrate due diligence and prove you're protecting sensitive data and systems.
So how do you prepare for something like that? An audit sounds pretty intense.
It can be, but preparation is key. Start with thorough self-assessments. Find your own gaps before the auditors do. It's much less painful that way. Put together a dedicated internal team. You need people from IT, security, compliance, maybe legal involved. Collaborate closely with all those stakeholders. Sometimes it's smart to engage a reputable third-party auditor for a pre-audit, like a dress rehearsal. They can give you an impartial view and help you find issues early. And documentation is absolutely critical. You need comprehensive records of everything: policies, procedures, implementation evidence, logs, reviews. If you can't prove it with documentation, as far as an auditor is concerned, it didn't happen.
Right, if it's not written down. Okay, so it's clearly an ongoing journey, like you said. Once you've passed that audit, achieved compliance, what are the best practices for maintaining it over the long haul?
Good question. Maintaining it really rests on 3 pillars. First, establishing and maintaining comprehensive policies and procedures. You need clear, updated documents covering everything: password rules, access controls, authentication methods, and definitely incident response for PAM and MFA. These need to be living documents, evolving as threats change.
Okay, living documents.
Second, continuous training and education for IT professionals and users. This isn't just a one-time onboarding thing. It means ongoing training on NYDFS specifics, staying updated through industry events, understanding new threats, and making sure users understand their role too.
Right, the human element.
Exactly. And third, continuous monitoring and improvement. Implement systems for real-time monitoring of privileged activities, and constantly update your policies, procedures, and even your tech based on new threats, new best practices, and lessons learned. It's a cycle, not a destination.
That makes sense. It's one thing to talk theory, but how does this actually play out? Can you share maybe an example or two of organizations that went through this and navigated it successfully?
Sure, let's look at Company A's approach to PAM and MFA compliance. They saw this not just as a regulatory burden, but really as a core part of their security strategy early on. They kicked off with a really comprehensive audit to find all their gaps, and usually there are more than you think.
I bet.
Then they systematically put in a PAM solution.
Yeah.
Key features were centralized control, granular access, the principle of least privilege, right? Session monitoring, and automated password rotation, which takes a huge burden off IT. For MFA, they went with the robust mix. Something you password, something you have a smartphone app token, and for really sensitive stuff, something you are biometrics. And crucially, they invested heavily in training employees, making them aware of the risks and their responsibilities. The result? They met the NYDFS rules, sure, but they also significantly boosted their security posture and built a lot of trust with customers and regulators.
That sounds like a really solid, proactive approach. What about another example? Maybe Company B. Did they face different challenges?
Yeah, Company B's journey also had its hurdles. They initially struggled with getting a really robust PAM solution, working across all their different, sometimes older systems, and implementing MFA everywhere without causing chaos for users was a challenge too. Their approach was also systematic. They did a thorough assessment first. Then, they smartly partnered with a specialized PMFA provider, which helped streamline things. They focused on implementing privileged session management, enforcing super strong password policies, and enabling that granular access control. For MFA, they rolled it out widely, but made sure to integrate it smoothly into their existing workflows, which is key for user acceptance.
Integration is key.
Absolutely. What perhaps stood out for Company B was their really rigorous audit process. They did frequent internal audits and brought in external auditors who specialized in NYDFS regs. This kept them constantly prepared and identified issues quickly. The outcome was successful compliance, but also a much more secure and resilient setup overall, achieved through that systematic approach and good partnerships.
It's fascinating how both, despite maybe different starting points, ended up using similar strategies: comprehensive audits, robust tech, systematic rollout to get there and stay there. It really shows the value of a disciplined plan.
Okay, looking ahead now, the digital world never stands still. What can IT professionals expect down the road? What are the future trends, the challenges related to NYDFS, PM, and MFA?
Yeah, things are definitely evolving. Emerging tech is going to play a huge role. Take artificial intelligence, AI. AI is starting to revolutionize compliance. It can analyze massive data sets, spot subtle patterns, detect anomalies, things humans might miss. This allows for much more proactive risk management, like flagging suspicious privileged activity in real time.
Proactive, not just reactive. Exactly. Then you've got blockchain. Its inherent trust and transparency make it potentially ideal for compliance stuff, like storing audit logs or access records securely. Imagine tamper-proof real-time records. And the Internet of Things, IoT. Well, it adds a ton of complexity with all those new devices needing access. but it also offers chances to enhance security if you integrate these devices properly into PAM and MFA frameworks, maybe using AI and blockchain to manage them.
So new tools, but also new complexities.
Precisely. And as for the NYDFS regulation itself, we can probably anticipate a few shifts. Likely increased requirements for PAM solutions, think even stronger controls, maybe more focus on things like just-in-time access. We'll probably see an increased emphasis on MFA too, potentially strengthening the required factors, maybe pushing more towards biometrics or hardware tokens, moving away from less secure methods like SMS, and definitely an increased focus on the auditing and assessment side, demanding even more proof that controls are effective and continuously improving.
Okay, that's a lot to keep track of. With all these changes, tech, regulations, how do IT pros overcome the constant challenge of just maintaining compliance in such a fast-moving environment?
It really comes down to a few core strategies, I think. First, adapting to regulatory updates isn't passive. You have to actively allocate time and resources to stay informed, follow updates, join industry groups. Second, implementing and maintaining robust systems. This means ongoing investment in the right tech, conducting regular serious risk assessments and patching and updating systems constantly. Third, conducting comprehensive audits. Yes, they're resource intensive, but they're essential. You need that close collaboration with auditors, treating it as a partnership to get better. And finally, maybe most importantly, promoting employee compliance. This is about continuous education and awareness. Regular training on passwords, phishing, why MFA matters. Your people are a critical part of your defense.
Okay, this has been a really packed deep dive, loads of crucial info. For everyone listening, what are the absolute must-do takeaways, the action items to successfully navigate these NYDFS regulations?
All right, let's boil it down to 6 key takeaways. 1. Familiarize yourself deeply with the NYDFS regulation for PAM and MFA. Really understand the specifics on access controls, passwords, MFA. Don't just skim the summary.
Get into the detail.
Exactly. 2. Implement robust PAM solutions. Focus on secure controls, monitoring, and secure password management to cut down your risk. 3. Adopt multi-factor authentication broadly. Prioritize MFA everywhere you can, especially for privileged accounts and sensitive data access. Make it the default.
Make it standard.
Yep. 4. Regularly audit and assess your PAM and MFA controls. Continuously check they're working. Review logs, monitor usage, assess your MFA implementation rigorously. 5. Stay up to date with regulatory changes. The rules will evolve. Keep pace to stay compliant and avoid those penalties. And 6. Educate your users on security best practices. Build that security-aware culture through ongoing training on passwords, phishing, the importance of MFA. Everyone plays a part.
Okay, fantastic summary. So what does all this really mean for you listening? Whether you're an IT pro, a leader, anyone grappling with complex data security, especially in finance.
Well, I think the core message is that compliance isn't some finish line you cross. It's really a continuous journey. It requires constant vigilance, constant adaptation, and maybe a final thought to chew on. In a world where cyber threats are always morphing, think about how embracing emerging tech like AI and blockchain, not just reactively for compliance, but proactively to enhance your core security, could shift your organization's posture. How could you move from being merely compliant to being truly resilient? How might that kind of forward-thinking approach really differentiate the leaders in the financial sector in the years ahead?